Hey there! I was sent a couple of pens by Eric, and he sent me some really fascinating pens. And today we're going to be looking at the first of those pens, which is a pen made in Japan. It's a vintage pen, and it's called the Jumbo pen. Now, you may think, Jumbo, okay, you have reviewed a couple of oversized pens in the past. Let's see what this is all about. Well, you're probably in for a surprise here. This is the Jumbo pen. It's the box it came in. Now, what I have here, just to give you an idea, is a Waldmann Tango. I think this is a pretty normal, fairly slim fountain pen. This is the Jumbo. So you probably see why exactly it's called Jumbo. And if you think, yeah, okay, but that Waldmann, that's pretty slim. Well, all right, here we have a Diplomat Excellence. That's a somewhat fatter pen. Then you may think, yeah, but that's still pretty slim. Well, this is a freaking Delta Dolce Vita Oversize. Yeah, the Jumbo really is a fat pen. Now, what's so fascinating about this pen? This pen was developed for older citizens in Japan who have arthritis. And, you know, it can be a bit hard to bend your joints when you have that. So they developed this pen. Okay, I'm going to cover the parts of the pen. I'll tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and then I'll do a writing sample. Let's start at the finial of the pen. Guys, it's huge. You can see my entire webcam in there. There's nothing on there apart from that. Then we have the cap and the clip. It probably can use a little bit of gentle polishing. It is a vintage pen. The clip is nice and springy. I'm not going to move this too much. I don't want to spring it, obviously, on a vintage pen. Now we have this barrel, and then we have, I don't know if you can really see that, it tapers down. You may see this very fine line there. Believe it or not, but this pen is eyedropper filled. You can unscrew this part of the section, and then you have this entire barrel you can fill up with ink. Now, a standard converter holds a little under 1 milliliter of ink. Some eyedropper pens can hold a milliliter, 1.5, maybe 2 milliliters, maybe a bit more. Some of them hold 3 or 4. The Ahab holds 6, I believe. This thing holds 9 milliliters of ink. That really is a lot of ink. If you think of those little vials that are used, for example, in the ink drop from the Goulet Pen Company, they hold 6 milliliters. So take one of those and then a half one, and then you have what goes into this pen. All right, so what you will see is that it's short and stubby. I have fairly large hands, but this really is a big pen. I mean, not in length, but in girth, which I hear is better anyway. In any case, here you have the nib. It's a nice nib. You see the section is fairly small, tapered, flares out clearly so that it won't slip. And the nib says a whole lot of things. It says warranted 14 KT for 14 karat, golden plated, made in Japan. So it's possible that it's a steel nib that's only gold plated instead of a fully solid gold nib. What is that twisting thing for? Oh, before I forget, I don't know how I can see that, but it says Jumbo pen made in Japan on the barrel. Okay, what is this twisty thing for? Well, to fill it up, you unscrew the section, take it off, use your eyedropper, or such a big opening, just a whole bottle of ink, pour it in there. And then, of course, you're going to screw it shut again. Now, the problem with these things is that typically an eyedropper can leak, it can burp ink. This is a beautiful system that has a type of piston in there. I am going to put down a towel because you never know, which you unscrew, and then in there is a type of piston that you can move back. There is a little hole in the section that is covered by the end of that piston that makes sure that no ink leaks out. Once you're done, you can see I can make this drip. You shouldn't do that. All you have to do is give this thing a couple of turns, and then it primes the feed, which is very cool on eyedropper because they can dry out. When you store them nib down, they dry out, the ink drips out of the feed, and then it won't write very well, it won't start up very well. Now what I have here, let me see, here I just have a small sheet of paper, I have that pen, and it writes straight away, even though I have not used it for a couple of days. And for those of you who are interested, interestingly enough, it's actually a pretty flexy nib, but let's talk about that in the writing sample. The nib is actually pretty smooth. I found it pleasant to use. Some vintage nibs can be a bit scratchy because they've been used a lot. The tines can be misaligned. It all seems pretty good in this pen. Now, for those of you interested, yes, you can post it, and this is what it looks like. It's yeah, it's big. It's definitely big. Very interesting pen, very interesting model. Of course, a very interesting concept to try and make this for older people. Now, or those with arthritis. They don't have to be old, obviously. Sip of tea, sorry. Okay, now your question is going to be, what do you like about it? What do you not like about it? Well, there's a lot I like about it. It's short, stubby, it's original, it's something I've never seen before. It's big, and it holds a ton of ink. I like all of those things. Very classical design with black and gold. Nothing too spectacular there. Things I don't like about it, well, it is big. Even for me, it's big. And I mean, I don't see myself writing a million pages with this in one sit down. But on the other hand, it actually is pretty comfortable. Don't forget that the section does taper down quite significantly. It's not that bad. Even when you don't post it, it's like writing with a really thick whiteboard marker or a Sharpie maybe, and it's not that terrible, as you may think, that it's impossible to hold. Clearly, if you have smaller hands or you really like thinner pens, obviously it's not for you. But I found it quite comfortable. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, this girth and the thickness, but in all, I think it's a very interesting pen to try out, and it's definitely a unique object. And that's pretty much all I can say about likes and dislikes. It's just a very fascinating pen. Okay, let's take a few measurements. What is very interesting is that Eric was also kind enough to send me a good letter, a digital letter weighing scale, so from now on I can take more accurate measurements of the weight of a pen. Okay, my calipers say that this pen is 133 millimeters long capped. Uncapped, it's 117 millimeters. Section diameter at the narrowest point, usually when something is 10 or 11, maybe 12 millimeters, it's pretty thick for a pen. At the narrowest point, this is 15 millimeters. At the widest point, it is no less than 20 millimeters. And the barrel diameter at the widest point is almost 2.5 centimeters. That's almost an inch. So it really is a big one. Let's take its weight. Now, just to be sure, it is inked up, so bear in mind there is about 9 milliliters of ink in there, and then the pen comes down to 72 grams, which is definitely heavy. But to be honest, for such a heavy pen, I think it's really well balanced, probably because it's so stubby. It rests well in your hand. I didn't have any problems with weight while I was writing. It's more the girth. Alright, guys, I'm sure you are burning with desire to see this thing in action, so a writing sample is what we're going to do next. Eric, thanks so much for sending me this unique thing. I'd never even heard of these pens. It's magnificent. I'm going to have a lot of fun with that. So, writing sample, and that's all there's to it. I hope this was useful, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Okay, guys, so here we go with this jumbo pen. Now, what you notice me do is I just unscrew this bit, so that I can prime that feed a little. I'm going to tap it gently. Just had a drop of ink fall out, so that looks pretty good to me. I'm just grabbing up an ink cloth to make sure I don't dip my sleeve in there. Okay, jumbo pen. A lot of feedback as you write, but I'm willing to accept that, and I'm going to show you why. Let's do a bit of normal writing. By the way, this ink, this is, no, wait, it's not Kaweco. This is Cross Black, which has given me very good flow. As you can see, a fine line. And boy, oh boy, is this a nice juicy flow. I really love it. And what a fat pen. It's amazing. Let's do a bit of fast writing. As you can see, keeps up well. There was a skip right there, but that was me. So very nice performance. Now, as to wetness, I've got to tell you, this is not a dry pen. It's definitely wet. And that's the nice thing about priming that feed. An eyedropper can dry out fairly easily, but with this it's pretty cool. Now, what's the real joy of this pen? I'll show you what the real joy of using this pen is. A little too enthusiastic there. There you go. This is what is colloquially known as flex, and I love it. And there's not a little bit of flex either. There's a lot of flex, and you have 9 frickin' milliliters of ink, so this thing will not run dry on you. It's a whole lot of ink, and I think it's absolutely magnificent to use. As always, you know, when you do use this flex, you have to go a little slow. You have to find the optimal speed. If you go too slow, it'll railroad. If you go too fast, it'll railroad. And now I have put in a little bit too much ink into the feed, and then you notice that it blobs a bit, but look at this, guys. This is going fast, there is no railroading, and you get your beautiful line variation. I think it's magnificent. Eric, thanks so much for sending me this pen. I really love this one. For those of you who do it, reverse writing, as you can see, you can just turn the pen around, no problem whatsoever. It writes, it's smooth. This is not even particularly scratchy, so that's nice. In fact, I wonder whether that is not smooth. No, it's not smoother than using it in the correct manner, but very pleasant to use. I think it's super cool. So, again, Eric, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. I think it's an awesome pen, and this is going to be taking up a really prominent place in my collection as a unique object and a very fascinating object. So thanks a lot, guys. I hope this was useful, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.